How's it going, everybody? My name is Cam White, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope, this time for December 21st through December 27th of 2020. We have come so far. We just got off, a very crazy last week. Well, I don't even want to say crazy. I didn't feel like last week was actually all that, kind of bananas, but last week was kind of invigorating. Last week was very freeing. Especially if you have hella things ruled by, like, in anything in Sagittarius, like your Sagittarius or Pisces risings, having Jupiter move out of its sign of fall, which, by the way, Jupiter was not only in its sign of fall, its sign of depression, but also conjoining Pluto and being squared by Mars and being enclosed by malefics, basically. So Jupiter was about as rough as it gets, and Jupiter being about the planet of hope and faith, like, finally moving out of, like, the worst possible place it could be, probably feels really good. And I think with last week, one thing I just kind of wanted to hit on was, last week was not only, I think, a big beginning to things, but also last week is a clearing out. We can't start new things unless we clear things out. And as we move forward to things, it's kind of like, if you guys have ever moved before, I would hope at least some of you have moved before, but there's when you're in your first place and you're moving out, you throw away things, but then you also get to your new house and you also get rid of things, and you also notice that some things are missing and some things didn't come with you during that travel, during that journey. And I think with this Saturn Jupiter conjunction, because just to kind of go into the horoscope, that's how we're starting this week off. Like, literally, we're starting this week with Jupiter and Saturn conjoining each other. And so as we have this on December 21st, make sure you go outside. I just literally went outside before I recorded this here on Saturday night. I couldn't even believe how close Jupiter and Saturn are. Like, it's almost like, whoa, like a week ago, it did not look that close. And now how close they look, it's absolutely incredible. And if you should definitely do everything you can to make sure you see it. It's only going to take 20 minutes of your time tomorrow night or on Monday night. But Monday, we're really getting into this new phase. We're really starting, and again, what I wanted to mention is not only is there this big new beginning to things, but there's also this big new ending. And I think, again, to go back to the analogy, we've already moved out of the house, and now as we're moving into the new house, there's more stuff that we're going to get rid of. There's more stuff that we're going to realize is missing, and there's more stuff that we're going to realize that we need to replace. And, it's overwhelming at first. When you first move into, especially if you've ever moved out of state before and you move into a whole new city with new people, it's very overwhelming, and there's a lot kind of going on, and nothing really maybe feels different at first. But then as you get into your new habits and you go to your new stores and you do things a little bit differently because you're, in a new environment, things change. And I think on Monday, with that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, that's like, taking down the for sale sign of the house and actually bringing that first box of stuff into your house. And, here we are. We're starting something new. I think it was a dramatic way of getting there. However, as well on Monday, we are going to be having the sun move into Capricorn. And I think this is really important too. A bunch of astrologers, I think it was S.J. Anderson. I don't know if you guys follow S.J. Anderson. He's got a YouTube channel too with a lot of really good weekly horoscopes you should definitely check out. But S.J. also has a Twitter, and he was talking about, if I remember right, it was like he had a bunch of lists of like all the times like the sun and like the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions happened on a winter solstice like this. Because again, this is the winter solstice. This is the sun going into Capricorn. So this is when, of course, winter's beginning here in the northern hemisphere. Night is greater than day. As this is all kind of happening on this on the solstice, again, the sun, this Capricorn cardinal sign rules beginnings, rules initiating, right? We are literally starting winter. And Jupiter and Saturn are, conjoining, starting this whole new thing. A lot of Monday is about initiating and doing things new, especially as we even go into the new, like, celestial season of, winter. And on Monday, with all of this new energy, it's very Capricorn-y in the sense that, like, we're going to be very ambitious on wanting to move forward. We're going to be very excited to move forward, very, like, like when you're ready to start a job, like you're super excited, you're not really like all into or when you're really excited about starting a new job and you're not necessarily excited like, oh, like you want to tell people, but excited like you're ambitious to get your project done and you're really streamlined, focused on whatever it is you're starting. That's kind of like what Monday really looks like. And then also on Monday, we're going to be having the moon leave Pisces, ingress into Aries, where it's then going to make that sextile to both Jupiter and Saturn, and it's going to be squaring Mercury. So Monday's a little bit more complicated. I feel like I said that weird. Complicated than just the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Yeah, this is kind of moving into a new house. The sun's into Capricorn. You're in a new space. But the moon sextiling Jupiter and Saturn is like this ambitiousness, this, almost fun and playful energy is making it exciting to move in. It's making it exciting to start things. I just think with the moon squaring Mercury again, you're gonna, when you move, you lose stuff. Like I think about this all the time, probably more than I should about, and this is something everyone thinks about. You ever think about a t-shirt you haven't seen in a while? You're like, where the fuck did that t-shirt go? Like this moon in Aries squaring Mercury is like, may kind of be missing kind of some of the details here, but it's not necessarily bad. I just think the moon in Aries squaring Mercury and Capricorn, you're going to want things to go by a certain plan, and it's not always going to work that way. You have to be willing to budge. You have to be willing to kind of, it's about getting the job done, not how the job gets done all the time. And so while the moon's squaring Mercury, I think on Monday, as we're beginning all these new things and we're having all this ambition, be open to what it looks like. Be open to how it fits your list. Just, have the intention and be open to the experience, because I think otherwise it might be a little frustrating for you to have all these high expectations and maybe not receive them. We move on to Tuesday. I know that was kind of a long time just for Monday, but Monday's a big deal. We move into Tuesday, and this is when we're going to be having, don't mind me looking at my little paper over here. Up here, I'll put it right here. On Monday or Tuesday, we're going to be having the moon basically only just make a trine to Venus. And that's going to really happen like earlier in the day. And as the moon's in Aries making that trine to Venus and Sag, I'm biased. I have nothing but fire and air in my chart. I don't have any water. I almost posted, if you guys are on Twitter, that when everyone was like sharing like their percentage of water and air and fire, I was not going to post mine because everyone would have flamed me. But yes, again, I'm biased because it's all fire sign, but Venus and Sag, there's this exploration, there's this passion to, explore, to adventure. There's this like willingness to like search for freedom, and Venus and Sag too is also very idealistic. Venus and Sag is hopeful for more, right? I think as the moon's in Aries trining Venus, it's kind of like, hey, if you believe that there's something out there and you have the willingness to go and get it, hey, you might just make that happen. And I think as the moon's in Aries trining Venus, there's like this reception of like, yes, this is what I have. This is what I want. I'm willing to go and get it. Like, that's the most I could really make of that transit. So Tuesday looks really kind of harmonious is a good way to look at it. Tuesday, Monday, again, big new starts. We get into Tuesday. Things kind of work out pretty easy. And I just want to emphasize this week doesn't look bad. Like, this week honestly looks really easy. Next week looks really easy too, to be honest with you. I was just writing January of 2021's horoscope, and like, yes, I'm still doing year aheads. They'll be out eventually, but this is so much shit that's happening in the first month of January. Like, I shouldn't say that. The first 2 weeks of January, nothing's really going on. In fact, it's Mercury, mostly Mercury stuff. But then the second 2 weeks, everything just kind of hits the fan. So the next couple horoscopes are going to be kind of like somewhat boring, but like, again, this week doesn't have that much going on. But we do get into Wednesday. And Wednesday, we do have something important coming up, and that is going to be Mars squaring Pluto for the third and final time. Mars has been squaring Pluto all year. We've talked about this, but I'm sure it's been a while, so let's go over it again. Mars in Aries, wanting to push through, wanting to be, take effort, wanting to attack. And as it squares Pluto, there's this, kind of like, I was watching Drunk History the other night. If you haven't watched Drunk History, I want you to stop watching this video, come back to this video, but stop watching this video, go to YouTube, look up, I'm going to look it up right now because I can't even remember what it is. Give me a second because I can't believe I forgot this. I think it was the Teddy Roosevelt episode of Drunk History, and for those who watch Drunk History, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. It was the Teddy Roosevelt one of Teddy Roosevelt leads his Rough Riders into battle. Watch that episode. It's like 5 minutes. It's really funny. But why I'm bringing this up is, what had happened was Teddy Roosevelt had this crazy gang of like war people, and they were in like Cuba or whatever, and they get ambushed, and like 200 of his soldiers died like getting shot at through the hills. And so basically Teddy Roosevelt was like, hey, basically we have to charge or we're all gonna die. And so him and his like army literally charged up this hill, killed everyone, kept charging, and then like got Spain to surrender in Cuba like I think 2 weeks later. Like it was like this insane push. And I think Mars and Aries, now that it's direct, we had this retrograde, phase. Now that Mars is in Aries direct squaring that Pluto, this is that charge forward. Like, you could be getting shot from above, but like this, like, you gotta have either you die or you have the balls to like keep fucking going forward. And that's definitely a scary decision, but it turns out really well. Like, for example, another one of my favorite YouTubers, in fact probably one of my favorite YouTubers, is Historia Civilia, or Historia Civilius, I think it is. This guy just goes over all really 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 niche Roman culture and Roman war tactics. And you guys should watch his videos, because he has a whole video on Saturnalia, which we're about to be celebrating Saturnalia. So if you want to learn about Saturnalia, I recommend one of his videos too. But he has this video about Alexander the Great and why Alexander the Great was so, pretty much badass. A lot of different reasons. But one of the things Alexander the Great did at one time is basically, without explaining too much of the story, there was this time where Alexander the Great was in this valley and his army got surrounded. They were surrounded by mountains, and on top of the mountains a whole army invaded and like surrounded him basically. So they were on a standoff for a couple days, and what Alexander the Great's idea was basically like how to get out of it was he made his army run drills. Like, they were in this giant valley. Think like 10,000, 50,000 soldiers. So like this is not a small thing, like a big deal. And basically what these soldiers did was they would run up the hill with their swords, and then they'd come back, and then they'd go left, they'd go right, and they'd basically run these drills. But what it did was it scared the other army to where they started retreating to go back down the mountain. So then they led this charge to push them off. And this Mars square Pluto, I really feel like is that charge forward. It's not necessarily. There's no guarantee you're gonna win, but I also think Mars Aries squaring Pluto is like, well, sometimes you kind of just have to push through the fear, and that pushing through that fear, I mean, like, think of Alexander the Great, or even think of the what's his face, Teddy Roosevelt. There'd be a lot of insecurity if Teddy Roosevelt would not be the badass he was if he didn't lead that charge. So, if you really want to step in the confidence, I think the Mars square Pluto will be really good, but also it will be easy to be tense and full of anxiety. I mean, think back to Teddy Roosevelt, like he was literally getting shot at. We'll be tense, we'll be full of anxiety, but if you push through things, they'll be cool. And the other reason I emphasize on that too is the moon's going to be conjoining Mars that whole day. So there's this like emotional rage to push through of like, yes, this is what I'm focusing on. This is what I'm engaging in. This is what I'm doing. And it's squaring Pluto. It's regardless of what power structures are kind of in your way. So again, Wednesday looks kind of powerful in a subtler sense because it is Mars squared Pluto. Next thing, this piece of paper. I usually don't tear my papers out of my notebook, but today I did. Right after Wednesday on Thursday, that's when we'll have the moon go into Taurus. Now hold on, we're gonna dissect this one. The moon goes into Taurus. It will then square Saturn and Jupiter, and then conjoin Uranus as it makes a trine to Mercury. Yes, moon goes into Taurus, conjoins Uranus. Square Saturn and Jupiter, trines Mercury, and then Mercury will also trine Uranus. So that's a lot going on. The first thing I really want to like nitpick is that this is the first moon in Taurus transit squaring Jupiter and Saturn. So get ready. Christmas Eve is going to feel a little weird. It's going to feel a little awkward. The moon in Taurus, where we're used to feeling comfortable and we're used to feeling, relax, as it's squaring Saturn in Aquarius. There's a new way to get comfortable, and it's not that way. And I think with the moon squaring Jupiter too, this is, maybe wanting to get the most out of something and not being able to get the most out of that. It's like the moon in Taurus is trying so hard. It's like, I'm not a parent, but I've heard a lot of parents say that they try to squeeze any type of enjoyable moment by themselves that they can. And this is like a mom trying to squeeze in like a 15-minute nap while their kids are busy, but not getting it because something breaks. It looks a little uncomfortable, I think, with the moon in Taurus where we want some stability. It's conjoining Uranus. There won't be some stability. It's squaring Saturn. The moon's presented with some challenges here. That is going to be, where does it need to take responsibility? Whereas authorities or walls are getting in the way of the moon wanting to relax. But the moon's also squaring Jupiter too. So there's like, Jupiter is where the opportunity is at. And if like the moon in Taurus squaring Jupiter is like, but if you are just kind of chilling and relaxing, like you're not going to get this bread basically. And so I just think with the moon squaring this stuff, there's going to be some discomfort, and this is going to be new, right? We have a lot of Taurus and Aquarius energy to come, and we're going to be feeling all of those really gnarly squares. But this is just the first one that I wanted you guys to pay attention to. So it'll feel a little awkward, but because Mercury's trining Uranus and the moon's trining Mercury here, I do think that this is a really good day for innovative ideas. For the moon on Uranus squaring Saturn and Jupiter, that is kind of getting creative. It is kind of what do they call it? Like Jimmy rigging something. Like like when you have a car and you just need to get to point B, and so you just fix it however you can just to get it to point B. That's kind of like what Wednesday or Thursday, I should say, looks like. Then we get into Friday, and really the only thing on Friday that we've got going on is the moon sextiling Neptune. So again, nothing super crazy on Friday. Actually, this weekend looks moderately chill. It's just the moon in Taurus, so now it's not applying to Jupiter and Saturn. It's not, doing anything with Uranus. It's just sextiling Neptune. It's probably void in this case too. So not a lot going on Friday, just being comfortable, just being chill, and getting used to the new comfortable too is a good way to look at it. We jump into Saturday, and Saturday we'll have the moon technically still in Taurus for the most part, and then the moon will go into Gemini that night, and it will trine Saturn and Jupiter. Now again, this is the first trine that we get. This is that first, little bit of the Gemini placements that we get as it's trining Jupiter and Saturn. So the moon being about our emotions and fucking everything else, basically, we're going to be pretty chatty. We're going to be pretty talkative, and we're going to have a lot of ideas really starting to flow, like very, very creatively, like fluidly almost, or like air is a good way to look at it because it's all air signs. And as it's trining Jupiter and Saturn, they're at 1 degree here. This is, this looks like a lot of new ideas coming in, a lot of really constructive communication happening, new ideas being implemented, taking place, all of that good jazz. So like by the time we get into Saturday, it's like, oh, cool. Like Friday, we're kind of kicking it. Friday, we're kind of just waiting for things to happen. And Saturday, the ball starts rolling, and good positive stuff starts happening. Then we get into Sunday. And basically all we have going on by the time we get into Sunday is the sun making its trine to Uranus, and the moon going opposite Venus. So as the sun Uranus trine, I only really put that just to say that, hey, this is a thing that's going on. I wouldn't even pay attention to that too much, really. That will mean that Uranus is going to be stationing direct sometime soon. And in fact, let me go over this, because when does Uranus actually station direct? Because I haven't looked at that. Oh, Uranus stations direct on the 14th, which will be right when Mars is squaring Saturn. Cool. That's not crazy at all. Let's move backwards a little bit. Sun shining Uranus, innovative ideas kind of coming out, but it's the sun in Capricorn, It's kind of like like a happy industrial accident. I'm trying to think, like a lot of it's super funny, like most products are actually made by accident. I'm trying to think. I've just watched this video not that long ago of how I can't even think. It's like some corporation will be investing money into researching something, and then because of that they'll end up finding out something else happens. And so I feel like the sun trining Uranus and Capricorn Taurus is definitely like some innovative thing kind of happening. But I think on a personal level, it's like, when you're looking to maximize something and get the most efficient way, there's a lot of creative, when you're in that mindset, I guess there's a lot of creative options for you to look at. I feel like the sun trining Uranus is like, get creative with how you structure yourself, the system that you're under. This is sun in Capricorn too. I don't know about you guys, but this year I'm new year, new me this year. I'm not even going to fucking play around. Like for sure. And I think as the sun goes into Capricorn, this is where, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to be very like, okay, like it's time. Basically new year for me is going to start when the sun enters Capricorn. So there's this like strictness, there's this discipline. And I think as the sun trines Uranus, there's this liberation. There's this ingenuity with what that can look like. And then the moon's opposite Venus too. There's this, there's this pleasure-seeking aspect to this, but the moon's in Gemini in the North Node. There's so much information that we're getting right now. And what I was really looking at with Venus on the South Node is Venus is exploration. Venus is value. Venus is like, well, I should say Venus in Sagittarius is explicitly like exploration, freedom, things like that. And Venus in Sag on the South Node, she's kind of going up. Venus is kind of coming up to the South Node like, I don't like it here. I kind of want to run away from everything. Venus on the South Node is like, in order to go somewhere, sometimes you have to leave something valuable behind. Sometimes it's an energy exchange thing. Sometimes it's just, one of those things that, it's also where you're at is nice, but that whatever's, beyond the horizon is going to be better for you. And I think as the moon is in Gemini opposite Venus and Sag in the South Node, by the time we get to Sunday, there's this like, we're doing the math, we're crunching the numbers. We know going in this direction is going to be better for us. But it's still hard to like let go of, the way that we idealize things. And I think also Venus and Sag on the South Node is like this releasing of what we thought we valued, this change in, the beliefs of what we value. Venus is in Sag, so we're really questioning what we actually enjoy right now. And we're looking for other ways to do that. Think of Venus in Gemini when Venus it was retrograde earlier this year. We were, there's all these new ways to gain sensory and stimulation. And, there's all this new change to our values because, COVID and lockdown and everything. And now Venus is in Sag going like, okay, what do I believe about all that stuff? And I think with Venus coming closer to the South Node, there's this increasing release of like a pleasure or release of a value or release of a want or release of a desire. And also this is Venus and Sag on the South Node. It's like in order to get something more valuable, more desirable, you have to let something go. And I think that moon in the moon in Gemini here at the end of the week conjoining the North Node is just... once you get enough information, you kind of just decide. Once you get enough info, it all becomes very clear. And so I think as we end next week, it's kind of like, okay, sometimes, I've moved a lot in my lifetime, and I know not everyone can share this experience because not everyone really moves that much, but it's super weird when you move to a new place I've moved to a new city so many fucking times. It's like you get to a new place and you start this whole new thing, right? Like everything's good. And then it's like sometimes you don't let the past go until you're already deep in the new thing. It's like, and I feel like now that's going to be kind of a theme here with Venus coming up to the South Node, and us and this is also the last planet passing the South Node. This is kind of like an acceptance. This is kind of a moving on, Like it's okay to change what we want. It's okay to change our minds. It's okay to let things go. And I'm fucking struggling with it too. This shit's in my first house, and I'm holding on to it for dear life. So I feel you there. But I think by the end of this week, it's just time to just let it go, let it burn. Play some Usher. I was literally playing so much Usher, Let It Burn, during the Mars retrograde in Aries. That is very much the theme of Venus in the South Node is Let It Burn. But next week. So next week, speaking of next week, because that's what's really going on next week, Venus square Neptune. So if you're already confused about what you want, guess what? You're going to be more confused. Full moon in Cancer. The full moon in Cancer. So if you follow me on Twitter, I was already kind of talking about this. This is the first lunation in Cancer that we'll have that doesn't have Saturn there, that doesn't have Jupiter there, and that the sun or that the moon's not being eclipsed. So this is going to be a very replenishing full moon in Cancer that we have next week. Very wet and moist. And then Venus conjoins the South Node next week, and then we go into 2021 next week. So again, a lot of next week looks like, in my opinion, Venus square Neptune is like, what? And then the full moon in Cancer is like, emotional bath. Venus conjoining South Node is like, let that shit go, and then we party into 2021. But that's next week. So I know this is somewhat more of a shorter horoscope, but next week we've got some cooler stuff, and then 2021 is absolutely crazy. I know I've been telling you guys I'll get these fucking year ahead. I'm almost done with the year ahead horoscopes. I've been lagging on them. These eclipses, man, they've been in my first house. It's been hard out here. I've been so drained and exhausted, and I think I got something wrong with my brain because it hurts all the time. So it's been like super hard to do recordings, but yeah, I'll be getting those out soon, and because I know how much. Because also there's just a lot going on in 2021. But with that being said, that's what I got for you guys. So I'll see you next week.